Okay, Steve. I've just put this together. I've found an old base mesh head with the which I've done a wireframe rendering of. Bits for that are actually in layer 10. And I'm just going to show you roughly what I'd do. First things first, I think I've probably made 2 or 3 attempts at human heads in the whole time I've done 3D. I tend to do hard surface modelling, so this is going to be messy, I can guarantee, based on how I model stuff. I'm not used to organics, but let's start. I will just add a plane, and then I'm just going to go straight into edit mode. I'm going to scale it by about 0.1 and scale it even more right down. I'm going to move it. So I'm doing all this in edit mode, so I'm not affecting the object scale. That stays at 1. I'm going to go R-90 here because it's rotating 90 negatively speaking, as it were. And scale Z, scale X, scale Z, get it roughly where I want it. G to move. Actually, let's throw the display on. Make it a bit bigger, and the mouse a bit bigger. Turn. Just pressing the N key there, as you can see. Right, now in point mode, I'm just going to move. Oh, I'll just zoom in a bit first. I'm just going to move these to where the first edge is, and I'm going to select everything. GY, I'm going to pull that right up to ahead, as it were. And now I'm just going to edge, select that edge, R, then E to extrude, drag, R, G to move, click, E. I'm just lining up one point there. Control tab 1 for vertex, drag down. Control tab 2 for edge. That's a quick way of doing it. So E, drag, Control tab 1. Just I mean, obviously if you're doing this based off a sketch, you're not going to get this exact, but I just want to show you the sort of the process. So E, R, scale, G, R, scale, G, E, R. Undo that because I accidentally pressed RR, E. And what RR does, it goes into trackball rotation, and you can tell that by the red and green arrows. So just press R to make sure you're only rotating in one bit. And it's all E and R here. I mean, not like I said, technically this is cheated because I'm working off an existing thing, but it's handy to have this and just go through it a couple of times. And what I would actually say in this instance, I'll do a Control R there because I missed it. Choose point, and I just drag that. I'd actually suggest sort of doing this, going it through a couple of times yourself, following this process and following this cage, F to fill to put that final one in. Now what I'm going to do now is add in a mirror modifier. I'm going to put clipping on so that we've got the other side. Now select edge, and E to extrude that, R, scale, E to extrude, E to extrude. I'm not going to be 100% correct there. E to extrude, R, and E, and just grab that. Now I'll just go into point mode and I'll just tweak these manually like that for now. Right, so if I drag that, you can see there's the start of the face, 3 back to ortho. Now we're just going to start extruding these edges out. So E, pull them up, E, pull them up, go into edge to vertex mode and just move them around. Like this. So I'm not going to be 100%. I'm, sort of dead on with this. I'm just going through roughly through the motions, right? So edge mode, I can select that edge and do F to fill. Select that and do F to fill, and that's automatically filled them. Do the same thing here, select these edges, E, scale X to open it out a bit, then E, drag down, again scale X to open them out a bit. Face point mode, draggy like this. And again, all this is taking place in one plane. If I select everything, you can see it's all in one plane at the moment. I'm not bothered about it doing anything else. Right, so I could select that. Actually, if I select that E, move that out and pull that in, and I'll go back to edge mode. I could select those two, fill, select them two, fill, fill. So that's that face. Do the same here, those two, fill, that and that, fill. So there's, get my eye going on there. Now what I'd actually do for the mouth is, instead of sort of coming down with that, I'm going to take these few faces here, Shift D to duplicate, and I'm just going to move them down, and I just connect up like that and zoom in, select that face, and I'm going to rotate, scale that right down, and that's somewhere around there. Looking at that, we'll put it there, say, and then that we're going to point mode and just position these here. I know I haven't got enough there, but I'm not bothered about that just yet. I'll show you why. So we can, that one goes over there, that one goes over there, like that. And I'm going to put control loop cut in there, move that, and then put 2 control loop cuts in here, and just move these along to roughly where I want them. So you can either just put one in and then control loop cut, or you can move one at a time, as it were, and get them all around. So that's the mouth. So then again, select these, E, drag them up to roughly there, select these, E, and drag them down, back to point mode, drag them along to where they should be. Something like that. Go in again, select them, make that a face. So that gives you the eyes and the mouth. And now you can take these edges, we can extrude these out again, pull them up, take them, pull them down, back to point mode, play around. face, select that and that, F to fill. Right. So I'm looking at the geometry here and I'm saying what's going on, so we'll take these here, extrude them up, and we'll take these here and extrude them down. Back to point mode. You see, and the trick with the geometry here is you see how it twists and turns, so you're not getting nice straight quads. They deform quite noticeably, like there and here. You look at the shape of that quad, and sometimes they change direction like that, and over time you can slowly force them to go where you want. So again, take them, I can do a face there, I could take that, E down, E down, E down, E down, like that. Take them, make that a face. Right, I can extrude that one down. Just keep switching modes, Control Tab 2 back to edge mode. Can do the, because like you can see there, you've got one face but it becomes two because of the way it bends. So we take this face here and extrude that this way. Like that, and take them to do a face there. So now it's starting to look a bit like, so I can take these two, I can move them up, and these middle ones you can just pull one way or the other, so it'll automatically expand, so like that. So these 2 points actually need to be joined, so that one and that one, do Alt merge at last. And then I could just drag that over there, like that. Edge mode, select those two and fill it. You can see where I'm going now. Select that one and that one, I can fill that. Select them two, E, drag them up, drag that down. Now we're getting to the point now where we can no longer see on the front view what's going on. We're reaching the limit of what's visible front wise. So that's a face. And these I can extrude this down. I can do one at a time if I want. And now I'm just picking one edge here to go around, then go into point mode, and then I'm just going to move these manually like that. So I select that, E, and again I'm picking a point, then go into point mode, and then I'll pull the rest manually, bit by bit like that. So now you can see we're getting there, back into edge mode. I can select those two, F, F. If you've got the F2 active, you can just hit F and it'll go automatically try to fill in a quad. And I could take that up to the, like that, F. So it was starting to get a face. Again, E down there, E down there, and I'm not trying to get them exactly right initially. I just want an edge I can manipulate, and then we can take it from there. So again, edge mode, select them, E. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. Control Z. I actually want to F that, then F that. So that's giving me my nose. I can E that, move that up there like that. F that. We're starting to get the face. Now I'm going to side view. This is where I'll start pulling points now. So this is all So if we take these edges first, I'm just going to select all these edges. If I just do a C actually and zoom in and just, oh, I don't want edge actually, sorry, I want points. I just want the points. I want those very inner points. I'm going to move those back to the, then I'm going to select them too. And I'm just going to GY all the time now because I'm moving just manually. So we select the next point along, like that. That's alright. Right, so they're more or less where they need to be. Let's take a look. It looks more or less right. We can finesse that afterwards. Right. So let's take them. GY. GY, and I mean realistically what I should have done actually is I should have lined these up as I was moving them, because I've got that isn't right. So let's take that, that's right, that's right, that, yeah. That's not looking exactly right to me. So if I take the actual polygon, I'm getting lost here. So what I'll do is I'll select the polygons. So I know that like the third line out, that one, pull that back. And then that face, pull that back. Let's have a look. Now you see that's all wrong. That's gone too far, so that GY, that needs to come back to there. In fact, I'm going to undo that last undo the last couple of steps. I should have done this a different way. I've realised that now. So I'll just take the outer edges of the eye and I'll do it bit by bit. So that's that one. I'm going to take those two and I'm just going to move those back to there. Then I'll take them two, GY back, and you see these should line up. If I've got it right, they should line up more or less, which like that. So that one, that should actually go back to there, like that. That one's gone too far. Let's put it back to there. And that one's gone too far. And I have a feeling there's two very close together there. That looks a bit more like it should be, actually. In fact, I'm going to take... So I'm deliberately doing it this way so you can see that, you know, the mistakes I'm making and the mistakes you are possibly likely to make. So I'm going to pull this back to here so that everything's there. Then I'll just take these and I'll pull them forward to roughly match. Like that. So guessing that would go back to there. I'm just looking at that and I'm guessing that would make more sense. That go back here. Say that would go back. No, that's not right. Is that right? No, that's too far. Undo them. That one. Yeah, I've done this the completely wrong way. I realise. Oh no, that's gone far too far back, hasn't it? Oh, that goes far too far back. That's ridiculous. There's no way that eye socket should go that far back. Where is it? What's happened here? Right, they're right. I can't actually see that. Let's reduce the opacity on this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go into wireframe mode. That would be a much more logical approach, wouldn't it? Okay, get rid of that. So that one and that one. Yeah. So the next one's that's back here. That doesn't seem right remotely. So unless, of course, this one is the one that's terribly wrong. And it is. So none of this is adding up. None of this is adding up. So no, I've got this so wrong it's not even funny. This is the danger of doing it point by point. Let's just take all those and put them roughly to the center of the. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's choose an edge. If we choose this edge, go to point mode, take that off, GY, and now we start to make sense. This is what I should have done. Choose edges, not points. Take that edge, you can see the state it's in. GY. Now these are starting to line up. In fact, just select those 2 points. Like that. Now's that's beginning to look a bit more like. So let's take those 2. Now you see how badly they are. So GY. I'm going to take that GY. GY. And how's that forming? See, this is what happens is when it's really distorted, you start getting a false impression of what's going on. Now I've found a point I can work with this. I'm starting to pull it in line like that. You see how that one just lined up nicely then. So this is what it's all about. It's just so like these have come too far, so we'll pull these in like that. So that makes a bit more sense. So again, let's look at this edge. Yeah, you see, deselect that point, GY, pull that in. See where that edge goes. Yeah, now what has happened here is that other edge is hidden. You can't see it, so we're going to pull that down, and I'm going to guess and pull that over there, and that looks about right when you just look at the mesh. Now the same thing here, I'm wage is going to happen. Actually, that should be like that, and like that. Yeah, that looks about right. These three. Okay, the bottom one's fine, so I can disconnect that. I'm going to pull that. I'm guessing that's going to be around there. Something like that. Does that look? Yeah, that physically looks about right. I think that can afford to come down a bit. Now, according to that it doesn't, but you see some of these are on the same plane. So all of these, they're coming back here because they're in the eye socket. So these again, they need to come back to where the eye socket is. I'd say roughly there, then take them to, I'm going to guess around there, them two, GY again, and I'm going to say around there, like that. And you can see the messy polygons there. Take them two, going to take them back here, them two, and take that there. I'm going to pull that out. Right, so because I've cleared that bit now, so that bit physically is starting to bear a relation to the mesh, and I've got a point out there that doesn't belong. I'm guessing that's going to go somewhere here, and that goes there. Now, what about these? That one, that lines up with something there. What about, yeah, so just GY, just drag that straight forward. So that, again, that's going to have to come forward, because that's going to match with that. And so I'm guessing that as well would be the same. We're going to pull these closer. They're going to be right next to each other, Y on the Y angle. And now we're starting to see some sense in this. We're starting to see some sense. That is beginning to look a bit like Christmas in terms of that. Right, so let's do the old beakaroonie. I'm just going to select these points down here, like that. Oh, they're alright. So I can just be middle mouse button, G, drag that out, GY. Right, they're going roughly where they need to be. Bump, bump, and bump. So let's take the next ones. GY. Right, shift clicking, and I'm just moving on the Y angle now until I get close, like that one. I can just do manually, and now is that beginning to look like a beak? It is. We take them, and they physically look more or less right. I'm just going to take one, G, move it. I'm selecting it in the front view, then doing G in the side view and moving it, so I don't end up accidentally selecting something else. So I like these here. I'm moving these manually, and we're getting a bit of a face going down there, like that. Again, going on the one view, I'm looking where they are in relation to the mouth. So that's beginning to build. So we look on the front view. We've got the nose coming down. Let's deal with the mouth. So we just take the mouth first. In fact, if we be and we just drag them, and again wireframe, and I'm going to reduce the opacity on that view a bit more, like that, just so I can barely see it, but I know what I'm playing with. Do the same here, take it down a bit more. Right, okay, gonna pull them forward, and then I'm just gonna move these manually to where they are. And I say I'm only bothered about these middle ones now. I know the rest are in a bit of a mess, and that's my starting line now. If I look at that, that's my starting line, and I can take the rest of the points then. And in fact, again, I'll just deal with the mouth. I'm only interested in the mouth at this point. GY, pull them forward so I can see them, and again just lining these up roughly with my topology here. And again, we're having a look at this. That's right, that. So I think now we can say that these are going to go back. So I'm going to select that there, and I'm just going to GY and drag that right back to there. And I'm going to just select an edge, GY, that comes to there. Select that edge, GY, I'm going to pull that back there. Like X, GY, I'm going to pull that back there. Next edge, GY, I'm going to pull that back there. Last edge, GY, oops, GY, make sure I'm in the right view, I'm going to pull back that there. Point mode, clicky draggy. Thus. Right, so like that, GY. And so I'm doing the outside loop of the head, the mouth now. You see how it comes together a little quicker when you start doing this. Oh, I've done the same again. The mouse cursor was still in here when I pressed GY, and I'm dragging this way. So I'm selecting in here, going in here, GY. Selecting in here, going in here, GY. Doing the same. And again work from the mouth outwards, so that one there, GY. Because if you've lined it up visually in the front, then naturally when you slide it to the right, it should roughly line up. The only ones you might not have a clue is a bit like from the front. If you look at the front, you can barely see the side. Then from the side, you can barely see the front. You're going to have to make a few guesses, as it were. So again, select that, GY, and then you just work yourself like that. And then what I'd also do is the next time round I'd actually build the faces bit by bit. So instead of doing it this way, I would build the face and try and roughly position it in both views. I've made a mistake there. What I did there was press Y twice, which will have split the thing. So you see now I'm lining up. You see eventually it does start to make sense when you do that with the geometry, even though it looks a bit scrappy. So again, GY, keep going with the Y. Trust the front view. If you lined up your front view, trust it. And I'm deliberately picking the outer edges now. So this one. And all of a sudden it's starting to make a lot more sense visually. So you look at that, it's beginning to look a lot like a face. So it's the same here. Right, now we've got a line of points here, so that tells me these aren't lined up properly. So my guessing is this. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that needs to go forward. So again, I think these here, what you're looking at, is these actually need to go close here. These actually have to go in here, where they almost line up with the front. So you could get them pretty close this way. So if I select that, like that, and then I select the one next to it, I think it should be here. So that one should be there. So that one should be here, and that one should be here, and that one should be there, and that one should be there. So you see what I'm doing? You see how I'm sort of tweaking the geometry based on multiple views. So again, as soon as I do that, now you see here, you can see it's starting to separate. If you look at that, you can see it's starting to separate. You can see the hint of a thing there. So that means the next one up would actually, so if I took that, I can take an edge here, E, and drag it up like that, and I do one, and you can see that's where it is as well. It's more or less right. You just a little bit of tweaking, and the same again here. Take an edge, drag it up there. You see, look how these are starting to line up now. See, this is clearly wrong. That there, that comes back to here. It looks completely wrong in this angle, but, and it's the same here. These faces aren't right. So again, trust the geometry. So that next one, that's alright. That's up there. I reckon that should be back here. The same as well, GY, yeah, back there. You see how this suddenly is beginning to make a bit more sense. Again, we're coming back, and again these are close to. So again, we're pulling back here, and they don't quite mesh. So let's see what we're getting here. Is this what we want? Does that look like it makes sense? That doesn't. That should be down there, say. Right, if that's there, that would suggest there's two more or less in a line there like that, which looking there, I think there are. You can just see a bit of a gap there, so I'm guessing that's, yeah, you could see by the form. I mean, there comes a point where you stop relying purely on the structure here, and you have to start trusting what your eyes are seeing. Like that. That's right. That looks to be going in the right direction. You see, that needs to come forward. That needs to come forward. And as soon as you start doing this, things start adding up in terms of the flow. Some flow you're still going to have to, it's going to have to be visual based on what you're doing, because you can't get an exact angle. You're always working off a guesswork. And this is a case in point. Like, you're just looking like here. There's only so much you can do in terms of lining them up when you don't. I mean, in this instance, I can cheat. I can pull in the actual mesh behind it, and I can look and go, oh, well, there you are. I can just GY on that, and I could pull that back to its eye point, and GY, I could take that back to its eye, GY, 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 which is, and then Shift O to hide it again, which is cheating, but you know, in that particular instance you could do that. But like I say, really 9 times out of 10 now you're relying on form. You're relying on looking in here and going, it don't look right. Like this, you know, you pull these in. See, that's alright, that's alright. So again, you just drag them out a bit, because you haven't got that line. So you're making guesses, and then you're just looking at having a nice flow on the polygons. And I think that's, it's not perfect that by any stretch, but if I select that, I can pull that down here. That's close enough, you know. And certainly for someone who is absolutely sucks at this sort of thing. So again, take these two and I'll make a face there. Go back into the full view, do F for face, and just drag the point over. Alright, so again, edge mode, drag them up, back into point mode, tweaky tweaky. And you see there, it looks like it doesn't join right, but if we trust the geometry here, so like now I can take that point, GY, pull that forward, GY, pull that forward, GY, pull that. Now undo that twice. I undo until it's selected the last one I moved, so I know I've not accidentally done that. So here I can take that edge E and pull it back here and pull it across there, and I want to merge these 2 points. Alt merge last. But that one, you see that it goes there, but as you can see it doesn't actually line up. So what we want here is, what I would do here actually is I would take a point and extrude the point like that, then just shift click them and press F for face. And line that up that way because it looks like it's in the front. Yeah, that makes sense. So back to face mode, select that, F for face, select them, F for face, select that, oh, select them too, F for face, F for face, F for face. So there's that. Right, now I'll start actually working primarily in the side view. So I'll select that and I'll E, 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 like that. Select that, F, E. Now again, front view, G. Go into object, into wire mode, just tweaky tweaky, lining these up like this. Face, 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 chin, select the chins, select that, that, and that, E, drag it down to roughly where I want, then drag it back to roughly where I want, then go into wireframe, sorry, into point mode, quick tweak on each one, like that, and let's edge mode, pull that down, E to pull that down. GX, pull that across. GX, pull that across. Point mode, zoom in. I'm going to select that. Alt merge last. That goes there. Do face. Face. Right. Now let's do the heady bit. And the head bit's going to be straightforward. I'm just going to select those three there, because they're the ones, and I'm just going to E, drag that up, rotate, E. Now I'm actually going to skip that middle one, so I'm going to actually drag that all the way up to here for now. Actually undo that, rotate, I'm going to go all the way up to here, and R. And I just, because I can add that one afterwards, and again, E, E, R. Right. Now, I'm just going to select the points and just drag these down like this. So I'm not too bothered about that one yet, because I can live without it for now, to be honest. No, actually, you know what, let's put it in, I'll do a Control R, then just G that. There you are. Cheat. So again, pull that down. And again, like I say, those top two are close, so they stay as is. And we're starting to look like a face. Now we'll do this from the side, as I say. So we'll go into edge mode. I'm going to select these two, E, and we're working purely from the side now because we've got nothing front wise. Select them, pros, make a face. We've got nothing front wise to go on, so like that. If we look front, you can see that there's not a lot. The most we can do is G, and just, this is about as far as we're getting now. We're sort of, like I say, we're reaching the limits of what we can view from the front, like that. So, because we're sort of reaching the curvature of the face. So, again, edge mode. We can now actually select these. E. Scale them on the Y a little bit to pull them in. And then again, tweak these around. And you can always double check in the front view. So we line them up like that. Then we select that. And that's about the best you can do. You're just looking for a slight curve. At this point it's becoming guesswork. Like that. And then just repeat. E. Again, it's just, this is where you'll reach the point where you're just going to start massaging edges now. I'll just, in fact, I'm just going to pull them on scale Y. I'm just going to roughly, and I just D. And I'm just going to bump that opacity up a bit more so I can see what I'm playing with. And so if we go into, again, we're going to 3, and we just tweak these like this. So I'm just getting them. I mean, this is just because I'm lining up to this. That realistically speaking, you don't have to be that precise, because you're looking at that head now and you're thinking, yeah, that's okay. So if you sort of look from the top, you would say it's coming in a bit really now. I would imagine this is pulling in because it's coming towards the back of the head. So it's coming in a bit like that, say. Likewise, I would imagine those just come in a tiny bit like that. And again, once we start adding this bit, you can start taking a look at it and say, oh well, clearly these here, they need to go. You know, well, you can see here is wrong, so I could take that and that. Oh, GX. And you can just pull them along a bit so the head looks more rounded. So again, take a point. Right, select that, G. Select that, G. So you've still got, that's where you've hit your limit of your geometry now. That top line where you can see no more. Like that. So that is then where you start to look at it and you think, alright, well, you know, clearly that's got to go down a bit. So checking it, so you check the one behind it, go into wireframe, and you would say, well, that's got to come down, surely that's got to come down a bit. It just makes sense. So like that. So we've got a bit of a head going on. Guys, how are we looking? It's getting close. So let's just finish off by doing these last few. So E. E. I'm going to pull that out there like that. Then I'm just going to drag these. Yeah, just trying to get a shape there. So there's your rough head. I'm gonna set that to smooth. Like that. You can say you can look at it now and you start looking at it and you think, oh, there's lumpy bumpy bits. So you can go into edit mode and look where your bumps are and that. I wonder why that one's bumpy. And just G that and pull it in a bit. Or maybe pull the next one out. Like that. Like that. We take a look and just apply. I'll do a Control 1 to apply a subsurface modifier on it. And there you go, you've got the basis of a head. I mean, you go through the whole process again, finishing it off, just doing the same thing. So let's just turn off that for now. So we turn these again, this and this. So that's not ideal, that should be a nice curve. So E, and just R, E, 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 E. So that's the rough back of the neck. But you can see again here, if you look at it, if we go into point mode, all of this would be closer. 3. So if we look, so that would actually come to here, and this would come over here, and that would come over there, that would come over there, that would come over there. So this means these are coming here, like that. Because you can see there how angular it is, so you're pulling these in a bit, and then we're just pulling these in a tad more. Like that. Then we'll just finish off with this. There we go. Like I say, it's a bit lumpy bumpy, so you'd be tweaking points here, but only ever so slightly, and I would tend to tweak them using Alt S for scaling in and out. So I'll do an Alt S there. You see, I can just, if I hold the Shift key, I can make it even more finessed. And you're just looking for super rough bumps, like, you know, you're trying to get a form going here. Are we happy with that? I'm just at Alt S, just pull it out slightly. Alt S, pull that in slightly. Get more of a curve. Are we happy with them? Add GG to slide that down the line a bit to tidy it up. I'm ignoring that now. Then Alt S to shape it. And we're starting to get it, and we could stick a nostril in. So we could take these two, say. In fact, could take them two maybe. Insert it. Tiny bit, and then extrude it in. That'll give you a nostril. It's a very square nostril, but it would give you a nostril. Turn the sub D back on. There's not so much of a square nostril. I'm going to make that sharp. It's not that it made any difference. What about crease? Like that. There we go. So that would be roughly doing that head. I don't know how long this has gone on. Oh, a lot longer than anticipated. I should have had my dinner. Anywho, deconstruct that. I'm going to do another one doing it face by face, and we'll see how the two compare. Dinner time.